to another episode of Off the Clock with myself, Alex, Vince, and Eric. Today, what we're going to do is talk about more of a PT style of talk rather than a business. We've done quite a lot of episodes so far with business talk. So what we're going to do today is talk about trending diets and what the four of us being PTs all think about them. So who wants to kick off? Alex can, because she just said that she had an experience so far.
Okay, so I've had a few clients come to me with food alternatives for like normal food, for example, rice. He's found this really low calorie rice or Nutella, which is not really that much different than calories, but apparently because it's healthy, it's going to help you lose weight. What else was there? Have you guys had anything like that?
Oh, all the time. You just have to walk down an aisle now, and it's like, oh, look at these noodles that have nothing in them. It's like,
yeah.
What are they? Like, what do they?
Noodles.
Like somebody like blew bubbles in a long shape and managed to get them to set. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. It's just soap bubbles that have been stretched.
Do you know what's funny? Really I feel like even at this point in time, I have a perfect example that I just watched last night. That all of the people that I started watching when I was a PT, like influencers and YouTube people, they're all now cashing in, and it's like a full circle. So they, at the start of their careers, all went and said, all of these fad diets are bullshit. You shouldn't cash in on them. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't drink BCAAs. You shouldn't have keto. You shouldn't have all this stuff. The same influencers that like 5 years ago when I started are now creating BCAAs, keto programs, weight loss supplements, all of these things, because it's a 5-year cycle. I reckon everything has got like a 5-year cycle. Because like, okay, the first year, like think about what you were doing 5 years ago and what was current in the fitness industry. Like even if you weren't in the fitness industry then, think about it and see what's trending now, and all of a sudden it's starting to pop up again. Like think about all the things that are like BCAAs, fat burners, fat burner gummies, like all of these things. That's all our Instagram feeds, all our YouTube feeds, all our Facebook feeds, literally filled with. And then like Bang Energy, for instance, pay influencers $30,000 for just one photo or one video. And all of this is caffeine.
Every chick, a big ass, is selling Bang Energy right now. Like that's it. If you have Boutte, you are selling Bang Energy. That's what's up. And it tastes like assholes, by the way. I've had it. I went out to America and it tastes like absolute assholes. So it's not even worth it, people. It's not.
Yeah, I'm just curious the fact the two guys in this, apart from me, just said asshole tastes like Bang, and I'm like, how do you know what asshole tastes like?
I'm a man of the world, people. Okay,
he hasn't had his wife around for 3 days.
Yeah, the things got wild, man. I'm telling you.
When the family goes away.
Okay, yeah. By the way, just so that's not real. This is a podcast. I'm a loyal man. Okay, that's it. Vince wasn't seen 3 days after his other half saw this because shit got real.
He gets another phone call just as it's live. All right, so coming back to what Alex said, what's our experiences so far with clients and our experiences on fad diets? I'll let everyone else talk before me.
Did an email on this today. About a year ago, I don't know if you remember, but that 800 fast diet came out.
Oh yeah.
Was it Dr. Mosley? Was it? So basically, he asked people to starve themselves on 800 calories for 8 weeks, and then asked them to buy his book.
Wow. There's a sales pitch. I'm delirious because I'm so low on calories. I'll buy anything right now. I'll buy all the books. The fairies are with me right now. Jesus Christ.
So I did a rant video on this because Katie's parents decided that it's a good idea. And then it took them a year to realise that it's not a good idea. So they've been on and off this 800 calorie thing, eating an egg for breakfast, this, that, and the other. And yeah, so about 8 weeks ago and came to me and said, Eric, this ain't working. Do you mind helping? And I was like, yeah, double your calories. Let's get you walking. Let's get you in the gym a couple of times a week. There you go, 5 kilo down in 8 weeks. Awesome. No need to starve yourself. No need to be a dick. You're done.
Yeah, the trouble is, everyone's like, but there are medical ones that do that. Over here, it's called the Cambridge diet, and it's something that doctors prescribe to people.
Yeah.
And it's this carton with all the minerals and things that your body needs to not turn itself inside out. But you're on like no calories at all, and it's like, what?
I have a confession to make. I've done the Cambridge diet. I've done every diet, to be honest. I've done like literally every fucking diet under the sun.
The thing is, though, we've all done it. I've bought fat burners. I've bought the CLA tablets. I've bought the BCAAs and stuff when I first got out, because you don't know any fucking different. And to be honest, I think you kind of do have to do that little bit of experimenting to genuinely be able to turn around and say that it is bullshit. And I know, because I wasted my money on it, because otherwise you just sound like, you know, people buy into the product, don't they? If you're desperate and vulnerable, you're scrolling through Amazon and all of a sudden, 4 million fat burner pills for £200 and take 7 a day and shit through the eye of a needle for 700 years and you'll lose weight. And you just go, fuck, that seems like a good idea because I'm so desperate for it. You're going to do it. And that's how they catch you. Like, I've had clients that all of a sudden have bought into things that are just absolutely ludicrous, but they had that moment of weakness and just when it popped up and they think, fuck it, I've got nothing else to lose. I'll buy into it. So we've all done it.
Everyone, you kind of get to that desperate bit where you've been struggling to lose weight for so long, and then you see something that's just like, it's almost like a bit of self-harm. For me, it was anyway. And it sounds really like dramatic, but like you kind of hate yourself so much, kind of from going my experience, you hate yourself so much, like the way you look, and then you see like a starvation diet basically, and you're like, do you know what? I kind of deserve that, and I'll lose weight as well.
Yeah.
It sounds really deep, but that's how I kind of looked at it.
What do you think causes that, though? Why do you think that is present? Because, like, if you think about our parents' era of living, that probably never existed, because they would just say, "Oh, like things are getting too tight. I'm just going to stop having baking," or like, "I'm going to stop having this." Like, they just stop doing it. It's not like it's not frowned upon. It's like if they don't want to get notifications, they turn their phone off. Like, how many of us turn our phones off? Like, I haven't turned my phone off for like a month. Right.
My phone is permanently on silent now, so I can check it when I want, and I don't get distracted by the bleeps all the time, which is probably why Eric and Alex think that I'm ignoring them half the time in the group chat. It's actually not. I'm just like, I can't have it going off all the time. Yeah. But I think with that, cause I spoke about this on the other podcast that I do with my friend, and I said the trouble is you're bombarded with two ends. You're told that everything is abundance and you can, have everything you want and eat this, eat that, look at all this food, blah, blah, blah. But then on the flip side, you're told you're a fat piece of shit because you should look like this supermodel or this bodybuilder or this. Like, I did a video on cellulite because one of my clients asked me to research it. And from what popped up, the whole thing wasn't even mentioned until the 1920s when a spa company decided they were going to use it to sell their products. So beforehand, nobody gave a fuck if their bum was a little bit bumpy. They had bigger shit to deal with, war and famine and pestilence and all that crap. And all of a sudden, when things got a little bit better and affluence came in, they were like, "Oh, fucking hell, we'll just make a problem up. Cellulite, your skin looks a bit bumpy. We've got a cream that will sort that out. It will take 6 years, but it will definitely sort it out because you don't want cellulite." And everyone just all of a sudden starts panicking about stuff. So I think you're kind of sold both ends of the coin. You're like, have this fast food, have all this rich food, look at all this money, show how well off you can be by eating all this stuff. Then all of a sudden you're shamed for it because you don't look like this impossible standard that we have on the other side of it.
Yeah, but it's also like, if you think about our era and what we live in now, it's kind of like you watch YouTube, you see a celebrity trainer drinking celery juice and sitting in the steam as soon as you wake up and drinking what's that oil? CBD oil, water, infused water. Like, that's being watched over 500,000 times in 21 hours, right? Like, that person is going to be watched 500,000 times, and it's the frequency of the things popping up, like retargeting ads. Back in the day, there was only newspapers, there was only billboards, there was only maybe TV if you were lucky to have one. Now it's like, I sat here for like an hour this morning having my breakfast, and there was 4 infomercials about fat burning supplements, or there was fat burning things. That's only in 1 hour. You go on social media, ads galore. You go on YouTube, people saying have celery, have CBD oil, have a sauna in your house. So if you're someone that is struggling to pay bills, if you're struggling to financially afford to do just day-to-day activities, and then you see, oh, that's the only way I can do this, of course you're going to look for somewhere to cheat, because we do that in video games, we do that in movies. We always skip to the end to try and find out what the cliffhanger is. We always try and Google what the score is of a game if we haven't really watched it, or, you know what I mean? So it's like we have this way of thinking now that, okay, as long as we can get to the result faster, that's the main objective, but it's actually the process. I feel like it's the process that gives the best result. You look at people that have steadily lost weight, they look genuinely more happy than the person that has lost tremendous amounts of weight using something that isn't viable for a long period of time. These people, and we can't beat around the bush here, buying into things because they know it's a quick fix. They know it's not right, and they know it's probably not going to get them the result, but they have to have an excuse in front of them in order for them not to be successful. Otherwise, if they were successful and they did it normally with a calorie deficit, with just doing exercise and getting your body moving, they would have had to realize that they've been lazy for the last 20 years or 10 years. And then they would have had to deal with all that emotion bringing into it.
Yeah, I think like from a behavioral therapy point of view, it's very true that the thing is, first of all, it's because you can get everything else right now. Why can't you get weight loss right now? If I order something on Amazon, it turns up tomorrow. Done. I have to worry about it. And the trouble is, the thing is, if you've hated yourself for that long, and you may have failed a couple of times because, you know, as it's popped up before, and it's a big thing now, saying that, you know, the principles are clouded in all these different methods, and you haven't found the one that works for you. You're just going to want to go for the quickest option. But at the same time, it's always good if you're not, you know, 100% honest with yourself, or able to be honest with yourself, to have a scapegoat. So your scapegoat is the fat burners. Your scapegoat is the pill, as you quite rightly said. And the trouble is, for a lot of people that have a lot of others, there's a whole like other avenue you could go down on this. Like on the face of it, yes, people are now lazy and don't want to do the package. But again, as we've said before, the consistently doing the right thing isn't sexy, and people don't buy into that. And I think as well now, what we class as a celebrity, and I'll use that term very fucking loosely, I mean, you know, any idiot, literally idiot, can become a celebrity, and somebody will go, sell this for me. So because I don't think we have the standards we had anymore. Like you say with our parents and stuff, the people they looked up to weren't really, there was no B-list celebrity. You had the guy down the street that was the firefighter, you had the doctor, and then you had maybe somebody you might have heard on the radio, watched on the TV. That was your celebrity base. Now you get your ass out on an internet clip, or go stay in a villa for 6 weeks and act like a twat, and then all of a sudden you're a celebrity. Oh yeah, sell these. And we just have to buy into it now. So it's really bizarre. Like on one side, there's a lot of deep rooted issues that people have with weight loss and stuff like that. But then on the other side, some people will just literally chew up anything that's thrown at them because the big funny box with the picture said so.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
But again, like,
thank you,
going back into the almost the Stone Ages, if we look like it, you know, doctors prescribe smoking for a lot of things, right? Doctors would say, hey, go have a cigarette. Really. So like, if you were someone sitting in this kind of era and knowing that information and realizing that those professionals were saying this, then sometimes you've also got to sit there and say, well, if someone's trying to look to someone to get a result, where are they supposed to turn? Doctors said 20 years ago that smoking was bad, smoking was good. So then how can that not be present in this day and age and say that these doctors are wrong, or these fitness people are wrong, or this person saying keto is wrong, or whatever? Like, there's so much, like, and I notice this so much with, you know, personal trainers and online coaches and even business coaches. When they say something on their social media, all of a sudden they have to be right. They don't actually allow people to have conversations. I've seen this numerous times, unfortunately, going the wrong way for that business owner and that coach and that person, and realizing that if I posted something saying, what's the difference between keto and a calorie deficit? And then I was pro keto, and I made sure everyone in the comments was conformed to saying pro keto, right? And I had 50, 60 comments. It's not my entitlement to say yes or no, right? Like, obviously I know which one works, but a forum on social media should just be that. It should be a forum. Like, if I post something on social media, it's not Bible. It should be able to be interpreted by other people. I shouldn't just say this is right or this is wrong, because how am I going to dictate something 20 years ago saying that was right or wrong? Because they were wrong. So I think people are so... You go.
Do you ever seen influencers delete people's comments when
it's a joke. It's so... If I put something on social media and someone comments something and it's like, you're an idiot, or this has happened all the time. I used to post stuff about heaps of different things early PT days, and people, in fact, the PTs in my gym would go and say, you're an idiot, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. When I got sponsored by a supplement company, everyone was like, you're a sellout and all this kind of stuff as well. And I'm like, you're allowed your opinion. I'm not going to delete your comments. I'm not going to block you. I'm not going to stop you from doing this, because you were put on this earth roughly at the same time I was. I didn't say you had to be a certain way and act a certain way. That's your problem, not mine. If someone's having a bad day and taking it out in my comment section and saying you're an idiot for saying this, I'm like, cool, no worries. Thanks for the comment. Have a great day. You know what I mean? Like, I think so much at the moment, people are scared to actually have an opinion, which means they're going to conform to the person that is associated closely to them. If someone's saying keto is the best supplement or best weight loss guide out there, right? And someone says, oh, actually in their head, they're like, oh, actually I've read up research and all this kind of stuff, but because I'm not qualified, but I've done research, I'm not going to have a comment because I'm scared of that person deleting my comment or saying something nasty about me. Look at what happened to Caroline Flack. Like, people cannot have opinions anymore for some reason, right? People can't even have a life anymore and have a way of thinking. Like, yes, people do things badly. Yes, people go on stupid shows. Yes, people do these things. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem with weight loss in itself is that no one's allowed to actually have their own way of doing things. Because like we said, the only way to lose weight is a calorie deficit, right? Energy balances. So why can't everyone have a different way of doing things? Why is one thing frowned upon versus the other? If it creates a calorie deficit, everyone should be able to do that in their own way. That's what I would say to a lot of people. Like, I'll get onto the phone with people, especially in the UK. For some reason, it's just UK based. I was on a consult with a woman the other week, and she was like, oh, I love the fact that you didn't like jam things down my throat in terms of information and saying that you're an idiot for doing this or an idiot for doing that, or like, this is the only way you can do things. You actually listened to my story, understood what I was about, understood my requirements, my restraints and my problems, and said, actually, this is probably going to be better for you, and this is going to be something else, but we won't change much. Where a lot of celebrity trainers, a lot of PTs that have been qualified for like years, and even some PTs that have been qualified for 6 months, believe there's only one way of doing things. Right? I just feel like there's a Swiss Army knife of different diets. Their understanding is that as long as it creates a calorie deficit, who cares what one you do?
Yeah, the trouble is, like, we're naturally drawn to lots of sort of tribal gatherings and stuff. If you take sports, for instance, everybody has their team. And it used to be that you support the team that was your local team, right? But the internet's done one of two things. It's connected all of us, which is fantastic. But at the same time, it's allowed you to create tribes of people across the globe that you wouldn't normally have tribes with. So all of a sudden, the person that... So people are scared to have an opinion, and some people just think their opinion is worth far more than it actually is. Like, I have things to say and a keyboard, therefore I must tell the world. Back the fuck up, get back in your box. Seriously, shut up. And it's like, the trouble is now you can create a tribe with anybody, anywhere, about anything. So it's almost like there will be a keto that is more keto than keto. And soon that'll be the big thing. And anybody who is normal keto won't be keto enough. And all of a sudden you're the bad person. And as you say, I think the problem is as well is, like, us here, we've said stuff, and if it's wrong, we'll just say, I fucked it up, my bad. This is actually the new information on it. But so many people now, because they're trying too hard to create a presence online, and they have to be right, otherwise their authority disappears. That there's no malleability anymore. And there's always going to be some asshole that doesn't agree with what you say. And there'll be somebody who's quite intelligent and doesn't agree with what you say. They're both completely valid to say what they want, but you have to, I think, if you're going to go onto the big wide world and be online and basically connect yourself to over 1 billion people that have an opinion, you've got to ride with it. It's no different than walking down the street and falling out with one of the person down the pub who doesn't agree with you or thinks the football team you support shit. What are you going to do about it? You're going to not go down the pub anymore? Or are you going to turn and say, you know what, that's fair enough, dude, that's cool. You're not going to try and get him thrown out for it or anything else like that. And I think the trouble is on the internet now, because you are actually in charge of anything somebody sees on your profile. as you say, you can vet it. So it only makes you feel good and it makes your status higher because that's what you're actually trying to vie for. Whereas actually, we all know that the more genuine and nice, the more people you can actually see people disputing with this person, how they deal with it makes them look more genuine. Like how many of the bigger influencers out there get called out all the time and you just hear them go, you know what, thank you for your opinion, or you know what, where's your research to back it up? I'd like to have a conversation about it. That's all it takes. But people are scared to, you know, as you say, put that little engagement in and go, you know what, I completely agree with your right to disagree with me, but can we go a little bit further? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I can't ask him because what if he knows more than I do? Learn from him then. If he knows more than you do and you walk away learning something from that, fuck yeah, what a great conversation. You can now turn around and say, I either believe what I think even more, or actually I'm just going to tweak it a bit because what this guy said was actually pretty cool and I might have got it wrong. But we, you know, people just can't do that.
You know what really annoys me is when somebody says, like in the comments, you kind of see they have a dispute and then someone's like, can you show me your research? And their reply is, you should just Google it. That's what really annoys me. It's like,
that's a Google here, yes.
But do you think that's the lack of ability to be in a situation where that person's had enough education to even start, if that makes sense? So like, for instance, you learn how to drive. The best way to learn how to drive is probably get an instructor, right? Yeah, your parents can teach you. But when they were driving, when they started learning how to drive, it's a completely different situation to it currently is now, right? So are they giving you the wrong information? Are they not giving you the tips and tricks that you need? So like, there's also a possibility that people are not getting enough education at the beginning and believing that that information they are being given, the lack of, is the only information they need. Where like a professor that says you should go on and do more research even once you're qualified, like all of my professors did or my lecturers did, wherever you are and whatever they're called in your country, you know, the best advice that I ever got was like, it's okay to say you don't know. And I think not enough people get told that, which therefore means that when they go out and train people and they forget that personal trainers are actually personal first, not just trainers, they don't have the ability or the foresight to realize that they're allowed to be wrong, because the stigma of having a price attached to them means that they have to apparently know everything. But unfortunately, the price doesn't mean you have to know everything. It's just all the training you've done up until that point. We've all had conversations about this, about the price that you pay for a trainer, especially U3, is not dictated on your current day life. It's actually how much you put into building that business up until that point. And I think we've also been misinformed about prices as well. People always go for the cheapest things. They always go for, where's the 2-for-1 deal? Where's the 3-for-1 deal? Where's the Domino's pizza deal that I can get 2 for pizzas instead of paying for 1? Where's the coupon code? There's an app called Honey now, right? That you can literally put on your Chrome browser and it searches for deals. So then what we're doing, again, we wake up, watch infomercials. We go on our computer, get the best deals. We then watch YouTube videos about discount codes and prices, and this is better because it's cheaper. But actually, the price should not dictate the value of the product. It is just that current day market, because a car doesn't get valuated when you go for an insurance claim based on the price you paid for it. It's current day price. Makes sense? So it's not like, you know, there's so many examples if you actually just look at it from a bird's eye view. And this is why I say all my clients, including you guys, that sometimes you just have to have a day where you just like a bird's eye view of your whole entire life and say, what am I missing here? Because as a business owner, as a PT, and most importantly, as an everyday gym goer that's trying to lose weight, the first person you talk to doesn't necessarily have to be the only person you work with. I encourage all my clients to get numerous trainers, because, you know, there's weightlifting, there's powerlifting, there's aerobic, there's so many different types of training. Like a gymnast is going to need numerous different coaches. You can't just give a gymnast one coach and say, hey, here's exactly what I'm going to do to get to the Olympics. If you look at a tennis coach, there's a backhand, a forehand, aerobic coach, a physio, some even have a massage and a physio because it's completely different. A chiropractor is completely different. So then all of a sudden, why do we think we only have to have one form of getting to a calorie deficit? If we want a trainer that is able to train us on a Monday and Tuesday, and then also have another trainer that can fit in and is a little bit more kind of get shit done, but the other one has a different approach, that should be okay. A big thing in the gym right now, if you're listening and you're going into a gym for the first time, try every single trainer out. You don't have to stay with the first trainer you meet. You don't even have to stay with that gym you go into. But people stick in gyms for years because they're afraid to have conversations with people because they're worried about what people think. And they're worried about what their PT is going to think if they leave.
Yeah, I mean, on that one, like, to any PTs listen or potential clients of a PT, I've had clients leave quite recently, and the only thing you can say to them really is that thank you for the time you've had with them, and that you hope that they keep doing well, because that's all you wanted from in the first place. So it shouldn't change when they leave. And you know what? It took me a little while to figure this out, because the first time, it doesn't happen very often to me, thankfully, because my retention rate is very good. But when it does, you do have to kind of realize that, you know what, the fact that they've come to the end of their journey with you means you've done everything you can for them. That's an awesome thing to be able to come to the end of your journey and go, you know what, we have done all we can together. You've taken everything I can give you. I really hope the next person can give you something more, because if anything, it takes the burden off you, because you're not standing thinking, Jesus Christ, what else can I do for this person? Because I've used up all of my experience. It's, you know, I suppose, Eric, in that case, because you're into your cars and stuff, it's like when you outgrow a car, you have to find something new, don't you? Like the car that you first got, I mean, I don't drive, so it's kind of irrelevant to me, but it's like the car you first had isn't going to be the car that you next go up to, is it? You're going to find something that does a bit more, or if you get a family, you can't drive around in your little, you know, hot hatch when you've got kids. You need something a bit more practical. It's no different with coaching. At some point, the coach that you started off with that was really good with beginners is not going to be able to get you to your advanced stage. So you need to go find somebody that does that.
But it's also, I think we're built to, like, okay, we can move on in the situations that we just talked about. But also when things get hard, I think people were like, oh, I'm going to run for the hills because something is affecting something. For instance, how many relationships break up because they're not willing to have a conversation with someone? That person that they're in a relationship for. Like someone puts 2 years of relationship work into that and then can't have a conversation with someone saying, hey, I'm getting really annoyed because you're coming home from working 15 hours and not talking to me. But that other person is so exhausted, they're not noticing that person's reaction. But if they had a conversation, how many marriages, how many couples would still be together? So that problem is that gets transferred into everything. Someone doesn't like their job, they're not willing to speak up. They're not willing to go find a new one. So when they go into a diet, when they go into a gym, they just bring out all the traits that was already existing in their lives. And because they want this one thing to work for them, they will do anything possible. They'll use any cheat code, they'll use any cheat sheet, they'll use any supplement that's going to get them to them. And then all of a sudden they're in that cycle, the ecosystem of supplement brands. And then the supplement brand will bring out a different type of BCAA every single year, different flavor, different launch, different clothing, you know, everything. Because everything has a funnel, everything has an upsell.
I feel like I've been through this recently myself with my own therapy, because I've never really had therapy before August last year. So I kind of just went to this guy, kind of trusted him, kind of got on with it, and just stuck with him. And for me, like I didn't know what I was supposed to be like, what I was supposed to feel like, what's normal, whatever. So it took a while for me to realize that it wasn't really clicking. And then I kind of went and found somebody else. But I feel like sometimes with, like, I guess if somebody's really new to gym and everything, and they kind of just find someone, and it's going to take a lot of courage for them to go and speak to a PT or whatever in the gym, and they start training with them, and they kind of like, okay, well, this person's okay, like nice to be around, like that's not too bad, but their training could be crap, or they might not enjoy it, but they feel like that's just it. Does it make sense? So I'm trying to get it in that perspective.
Yeah, I think we also have this problem of like going back to diets and stuff and weight loss. We have this like messiah complex, don't we? Where like you've tried everything, and all of a sudden this one diet made it for you, but then because everything else failed, that's it. That diet has to work, and I have to tell everybody. It's no different than religion or anything else. You go through a hard time, you find God, you find Buddha, you join a Shinto Japanese culture or whatever, because it helped you get through that hard time. It helped you lose that weight. You found something to stick to. All of a sudden, not in a bad way, you want to help everybody around you in your circle. So you instantly start saying, this is the diet for you because it helped me when no other diet could. And you get your blinkers on, and it's just that the whole way through. When someone turns around and says, oh, you know what, it's actually quite cool, but it's really just a calorie deficit packaged up in a way that worked for you. And because we're so bought in, it almost becomes like an insult. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, no, I'm telling you, this is the only way this works.
Yeah.
And then
you can't even say that
somebody
on social media.
People catch it, and then it's like, as you say, everything's got a funnel. So there'll be somebody that's like, there's a few people out there that are down with the whole 5-2. Well, I'm sure I can brand a little like a 5-2 soup that you have on your 2-day, and all of a sudden there's an upsell because people are going to buy it because it goes into that bigger package. It's no different than, you know, anything else that we go to. We all have our favorite brands and stuff, and it's no different. We feel that they speak to us, or we bought into them, so therefore they're the best ones. It's like clothes and everything else.
Like intermittent fasting, I was actually going to mention them earlier. You know how you were saying about like the keto diet, and they're gonna find something that's even more keto and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
I feel like intermittent fasters are like that at the moment. So if somebody says they do IF and they fast between these certain hours, somebody's going to turn around like, oh, that's not intermittent fasting, because you have to be fasting between this long and you have to do it for this long. And it really winds me up because I feel like everybody's different with their lifestyles. Sometimes the window that they think is optimal or whatever, they're going to be at work or something and they're going to need more energy compared to when they're sleeping and not doing anything at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually got asked that one of my clients the other day because they're retired, and the wife plays open mic nights. So I said to them, I was like, you know, you enjoy having a drink and that's fine, and we'll work out calorie deficit. And I said, so what time does your day finish? And they were like, oh, maybe like 11 o'clock at night. So I said, well, your window has to start later to accommodate your evening. And they're like, can you do that? I was like, yeah, it's just a window. I mean, the thing is as well, so 2 things for anybody listening. So here's the trick of intermittent fasting. You're basically trying to manipulate your circadian rhythm. So that is, we are diurnal creatures, so we're up during the daytime. So there's a 12-hour digestion window from the moment anything goes in your body that isn't water, because I did all this stuff. And so if you're having a coffee before your fasting window, you are no longer technically fasting because you have to metabolize caffeine. So sorry to shit on your parade, but it's nothing but water until you're ready to go. And basically all you're trying to do is make sure you eat within the 12-hour window. So it was found that 8 hours is optimal for ultra endurance athletes. A 9-hour window was optimal for most people, but as long as you were within the 12-hour window, you're basically getting all your nutrients in while your digestion enzymes are working, they shut down, and you wake up and basically everything lays dormant till you're ready to go. Now, I did the ultimate in keto because I did intermittent fasting and keto because I was that guy. And the thing was, I really enjoyed it. Like, it really kind of annoys me when people like have got on this bandwagon of bashing the shit out of keto, because I found it really easy to stay in a deficit because it regulated my energy levels out. But I still had to adhere to a deficit. And then I did the intermittent fasting window because I found that really helped me keep everything on track, because I was so busy building my business up. If I knew that I could just get all my calories in a smaller window and I didn't feel hungry the rest of the time, and that was the biggest driver for me, is that being on keto and using intermittent fasting basically suppressed my hunger down enough that I could go 12 hours without feeling hungry, start my window when I wanted to, get all of my nutrients in that I needed to eat because I wasn't being an idiot about it and just, you know, whatever. And it worked. So if you, again, it's the principle put up in a fluffy package, but yeah, it's very true. People will turn around and go, you mean you can eat outside of a 12 to 8 window? I mean, there are more hours in the day if you want them. Like, you know, it's not the end of the world. But as you say, there's always somebody who's more righteous than you are, and no, because it's only intermittent fasting if you start at 12. What if I start at 11:59? Then you are a sinner, my friend, and I'm afraid you're going to burn in hell. That's how it works. Then
there's the opposite though, that with things like keto, because when I learned about keto and I did the keto diet, I was just said, if you only eat high fat and low carb, then you're going to lose weight. That's it. You don't have to eat less food. You're just going to lose weight. So I just carried on eating a load of food and didn't lose weight, because they don't tell you that you have to be in a calorie deficit in order to do it.
Yeah.
People swing around the reason why you lose weight, and people just think, okay, well, it's like the clean eating diet. If they don't eat clean or whatever, then they're going to automatically lose weight, and it's just not the case. So,
yeah, it's the reason that does that. And you're right, because what they're banking on, and there's Weight Watchers and Slimming World did the opposite. So the keto diet basically tries to play on the fact that it's very hard to overeat on protein and fats because they fill you up really quickly. So in theory, by keeping those in your diet, you're going to naturally put yourself in a deficit because you'll feel full and satiated for longer. But the funniest thing is what they do in Weight Watchers and stuff when they say that pasta's free. I mean, whoever gives you that diet, put them in a cannon and fire them the fuck out the window because they're an idiot. Like the whole reason they're basically, everyone's just hoping that you're sensible because they don't want to tell you the principle, but they know that there's a few tweaks. Okay, so you're not going to eat a whole bowl of pasta. Yes, I am going to eat a whole bowl of pasta, thank you, and it's going to be delicious. It's no different than saying, like, on the principle, the calorie deficit aside, proteins and fats kind of hard to overeat. If you eat, you get your meat sweats and you think, oh, fucking hell, I've had enough. So hopefully you'll cut down. But you're right, you can easily overeat on any diet if you don't explain that actually you need to only be eating a certain amount in that diet. It's just whatever one makes it easier for you.
But then you see like things like mashed banana and Slimming World is sinned. Like that my video. You can have a banana, but if you mash it, you're gonna fucking gain weight. Like what?
Heaven forbid we have teeth.
I know.
I'm taking them out. That's it. I do the Slimming World. I'm getting all my teeth removed, and I'm just gonna have gums.
Do you think the whole thing is like Chinese whispers though? Like I just have a feeling at this point in time, so I've been in the industry for like very little amount of compared to a lot of people, but like, over the last 5 years, I feel like people were just conforming to one person. And then they're saying, because that one person said something, that is now, I'm going to take that information, pass it on to everyone else. But because like Chinese whispers, as you get deeper down the chain, if you listen to the person that last heard that conversation versus the person that first heard the conversation, they're going to have two different elements and two different analogies of the same thing.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I feel like, okay, well, if I'm a PT and I heard this from a lecturer, because I don't even believe half the lecturers in the world right now can actually teach anything, because even the ones that were teaching me, I only have really few connections with them, the ones that were actually good. One business person in our program said that I should use an Excel spreadsheet for my accounting, when at that time, there's a software that just released worldwide that you can get that does all of it for you for half the cost of Microsoft Office per month. So then how does this 50 or 60-year-old call himself a lecturer when he's not staying up with current knowledge? And I'm not using that as a bashing comment. I'm just saying you've also got to take your considerations. So just because you're talking to a personal trainer does not mean that guy or that girl is going to be the best in the industry. Just because you talk to that person doesn't mean you have to go with that person. You don't just buy a house because you look at this house and say, that looks cool. You get like an evaluation done. You get the builder and you get the electrician and you get all the people in there that are experts in their field. Well, hopefully you're experts in their field. You don't just go like balls in without actually doing any research before. So then why do people just sit there and say, okay, that looks cool. I'm just going to buy it because it's nice and fancy and silver and shiny. We've also got to sit back and say, every person in the world right now is a human being. They have their own brain. They have their own emotions. They have their own bank account, some of them. Why can't people all of a sudden make decisions for themselves? Why do they have to be influenced? Why do they have to be told? Right? Like I understand the knowledge, but there's also when you're training a child or you're training a dog, you can't just give all of that knowledge to a person that knows nothing. Otherwise, what are they going to do? Piss on the carpet or throw up or do something they're not supposed to do because they don't know any better.
Which is true for both dogs and kids, by the way.
Exactly. I use that analogy because my dog does that now.
I feel like that kind of mentality has kind of grown in us, probably since school, because of the whole social thing. Like you had the popular people, and if they did something, then somebody else would do it. And it's almost like an indecisiveness because you're worried that somebody's going to bully you or say something to you and not agree with you. So you kind of follow what the cool kids do and fit into the social norm, I guess. And I feel like it starts from there and we just kind of carry on, and you kind of you feel like you need to see somebody else doing it before you feel like you can have a go.
Yeah, I think, and you're quite right with the school analogy as well, because you're told to listen to the teacher.
Yeah.
Question the teacher because the teacher's giving you the knowledge. Now, all you do is transfer that teacher to influencer to PT, because they're talking about something you want to know about. Whether it's right or not is irrelevant, but you have been ingrained in to go, that person is more knowledgeable than I am on theory, therefore I need to listen to him, but I don't need to question him because I trust him because he's saying what I want to know about. And also, as you say, why don't we all have our own minds and do what we want to do? Because if it's the same thing, isn't it? You want to go with the flow because then you're not the one sticking out and going to fuck it up. If somebody else fucks it up, you go, I'm going to just back out of there and disappear off the screen. But if you're the one leading the way, there's only a small amount of people that will be happy to split off from the crowd and go and do their own research. But since the dawn of time, the person who doesn't go with the flow is ostracized out. You're generally programmed to not want to be the guy that's standing out saying, hang on guys, this doesn't ring true, because you're a ringleader. Even your teachers used to say, if you were the kid that didn't agree with the teacher, you're a ringleader, you got booted out. That was me, by the way. And
me as well.
It just carries over.
And it's harsh as well. Like when somebody says they don't agree with the masses, everyone is just nasty to them. They are personal, completely irrelevant to what opinion they have. Like they go hard in it, and it's which is why celebrities probably have so much issues as well in terms of mental health. So
the trouble is with that though is if you're going to be a celebrity and the thing is as well, coming from, I did performing arts in college with the sole purpose of wanting to become an actor. That was the first thing I went into because I loved doing performing arts and stuff. Fitness came much later. And luckily, my lecturer was an actor. He did the whole thing. And he said, you have to understand that you are sacrificing that part of you because you've decided you want the limelight. And as much as it is hard, so it's twofold. One, if you're a celebrity, you kind of have to take it on the chin that you have no privacy because you've decided that you want to make yourself known to so many people. And I can say this from personal experience, and anyone who's done performing arts will know, you are a bit addicted to the attention. You wouldn't do what you were doing if you didn't love it a little bit. But second of all, because you can say what you want now in front of a screen and nobody's going to turn around and punch you in the face for it, people are brave now, almost overly brave. And when I was a doorman, I used to get it all the time because so many people are so used to giving shit on the internet, and then they give you shit to your face and you're like, mate, you want to back off before I put you on your ass? Oh, you can't do that. Bang. Oh, well, what'd you do that for? Because this is the real world, unfortunately. When you say things to people face to face, there's a whole load of crap that can go wrong. When you're sat in front of your phone or your laptop, you are safe as shit. I'm at the moment, I'm in 4 walls that nobody can get into. I can type whatever the bloody hell I want. And what's anybody going to do about it? Nothing. Yeah, if I go and get my soapbox and put it in the middle of town and start shouting my mouth off, someone's going to come and throw something at me. And there's just, as you say, with these, you've got a group of people that will gather around you and go, yep, this guy's right. And one person might say, don't really like that. And it's no different now. You just get mobbed one way or another.
But again, I don't think there's enough consequence for, like you said, there's no consequence for people to say anything they want. The girl that unfortunately got killed over here in Auckland from the UK, one of the guys on Facebook that leaked the name in New Zealand, because he's still under name suspicion in New Zealand, he's not overseas, but he's still under name suspicion here. He got fined $50,000 because he typed his name. Now, why can't, if the industry or the authorities have that power to be able to backtrack that person and say that's the person that leaked the name first, of course there's many others, how can someone not backtrack a comment that caused a negative response for that individual? I think there is. I just don't think people or the authorities are willing to do the extra lead work because it costs too much. But also you've got to realize that if someone comments something that then leads someone else to have a mental issue that unfortunately that person takes their own life, that guy or that girl should have a consequence for it, because that is just like pulling the trigger on a gun. But our society says that it's too tough to be able to find that person. I don't think it is. I think the authorities have the power. I mean, Apple leaked, or Facebook got known for saying that they were taking data. People were deleting their Facebook pages because of the new update. So you can't tell me that they don't have the technology to see when that person put the comment, relate it back to when that person took their life, and say that's probably the person or the bunch of people, and find a lot of them. I just think that needs to happen. But
then there's a lot of times where there's a lot of people that do it. It's not just one. And it's with someone like Karen Flack, it was the media. Well, they were probably the ringleaders of the media. They obviously said a load of lies, whatever. Nobody knows what the truth is talking about.
But then no one's going to take any action, which is confusing. No one needs media at all. We've existed on this planet for a lot longer than we've had technology and media for. So why is no one sitting there and saying, well, do we actually need the magazines? Why don't we just, and I know we have the freedom of speech and they're allowed to say whatever they want in some bullshit legislation, but legislations, just like the gun laws in America, are designed to be changed based on the current evaluation of that day and age. The gun laws that have made America so corrupt and so bad right now is because when they were legislated, it was when they didn't have semi-automatic guns. They only had single barrel guns. And it was when they still had horses carting around. So like, I think the world is also the biggest enemy of the world as well. We want to change and we want to have all these things, but I think bringing this whole conversation back to diets, the problem that I will always see, and I don't think, my kids are going to have this problem as well, is that the diets will always be there because someone needs something to talk about. Someone needs something to pull down. Someone needs something to sell, and someone needs something to absorb into, because no one's really sitting there and saying, actually, the best thing we could do is redo our whole entire education system and say, do kids and teenagers and young adults actually need to go to school, unless you want to do a medical degree, a law degree, or something that needs that qualification? Because we can all probably sit here and say, did we actually need to go to school for like 7 years?
No.
To learn how to say no or learn how to socialize? Were we not better off to have socialization occurrences more frequently and actually put ourselves in testing situations to learn and adapt to real life situations, rather than sitting in algebra class and getting told that if you don't learn this equation, you will not make it in life? And now there's an app, and now there's a phone, and now there's technology that does it for us. I just think we are so stone age in terms of a lot of our education systems and a lot of our protocols, that actually the problem is not diet. I think it's the problem of our upbringing that is causing us not to have the authority to have our own opinion and say, okay, that guy or that girl says keto is the best. I'm going to challenge that, and I'm going to do my own research, because just like we do our own research for trying to buy the cheapest products and trying to find those coupon codes, it's just the same amount of energy, but all of a sudden we can't do it. I don't think we can't do it. I think a lot of people are not willing to do it, and it's easier just to blame something like a diet.
Yeah.
Just going back, to that media thing, there is a petition going around now for the newspaper stuff. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's change.org, I think it is. I got an email about it. They have got like a petition going around now to hopefully crack down on media. I don't know whether or not, I don't know how many signatures do people need for it to go to Parliament. I don't actually.
250,000 signatures.
I find it very interesting though that, like, I'm going to admit it, the fact that I watched Love Island, but right, so that's the first problematic problem.
I haven't listened, so I can't. It's too much of a commitment.
The issue that I have is that they turn around and say that she was such an integral part of their program and their lifestyle, and that's cool. But you've also got to realize that you had one episode about media saying stuff about you, and then saying that stuff and then putting them back into a cage for the next 2 weeks before they're allowed out. So you're telling them about the headlines that are now made up and false just to get an episode, and then turning around and saying that you aren't at fault. It's not Love Island's fault. It's not Love Island's fault. It's all this other stuff. It's all the media. Well, you're having an episode dedicated to media. So then also a lot of influencers, and bringing it back to the start of this conversation about diets, all of the people, every single one of them, all of the people that I watch when I grew up 5-6 years ago, have all cashed in one way or another over a diet. So the problem is also, you have this problematic that, yes, this person looks nice, but are they going to be nice in a year's time? Are they not going to take advantage of the system in a year's time? So the problem, I think, a lot of the time is the actual platform that a lot of people have, but also the opportunity for that person to take some sort of accountability and not just keep blaming the situation. That person that keeps telling you as clients, saying that I'm not losing weight, and that PT not having the audacity to say, actually, the reason you're not losing weight is because you're still overeating, and having that conversation, because a lot of PTs are probably scared to have that conversation because they're like, oh, if I say that, they might leave.
There is that thing where they, Martin says it, that the majority of people lie. I don't remember what the percentage he was saying, but he was like, your clients will lie to you, and women are scientifically known to lie more than men, which I thought was quite funny. But then they get really offended that you called them out and get defensive, and I don't know, then they kind of, I think once they've had a little think about it and they kind of look at what they're eating, they're like, okay, maybe they're right. But I think it's that thing, like when somebody turns around and says, well, no, actually you're not doing enough, it's a bit of reality, and sometimes it can be a little bit hard for people to take.
But we often forget as coaches and influencers and business owners as well, is that we have a platform, or any platform. If we only need one person and one client, or one person to dive deep into our conversation with ourselves, and then automatically we have this authority figure to say whatever we say works. But we also have the platform to have conversations about calling people out, including our clients. And we should have that responsibility, because that's what effectively a person's paying you for. They're not paying you to give them a diet plan. They're not paying you to give them an exercise plan. They're telling you or paying you to get the job done. And half of the job, if not 90% of the job, is having those hard conversations with clients and saying, actually, the real reason is because out of the last 6 sessions, you've actually slipped in for 4 of them, which meant we only got 20 minutes instead of 30. Across those 4 sessions, that's nearly 40 minutes you missed. You're paying me a whole session to do nothing. And you're telling me that it's my systems or the diet or the workout that's not working. Actually, Jenny, it's because you keep sleeping in. Actually, what we should do is fix the reason why you're sleeping in, and then stop blaming other things and take accountability. Yeah. And yes, you may have a negative response, and yes, that client may leave, but that client would have never got results anyway. And sometimes, if not all the time, in my experience, when you've had those hard conversations, it brings out the best in the individual. Because just like telling a child no, just like telling a dog no, they learn that, okay, what can I do to make it different next time? But if you keep saying yes to that person, if you become a yes man and a yes person, all you're doing is making that person go over and over and over those bad habits, and nothing changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes people wait years for that to happen.
Yeah, I think, as you say, the trouble is there's that want to please, isn't it? Your clients will lie to you because they want you to be happy with them. They want you to be pleased with the results. And, you know, and it depends on your tools as well. I will definitely say this, that, like, you know, the trouble is with PTs as well, especially people that have been doing the same thing for the same way and have had 99% success rate, or people that are new or whatever. You have to admit that the calories, say for instance, we're working at a calorie deficit, why isn't my diet not working? So you've calculated them at a deficit, and the first time the client comes to you, you know, I'm not losing any weight. You could turn around and say, well, in all fairness, like, you're probably not tracking your calories. Well, I am, because you've asked me to. Yeah, you're probably not. At some point though, you do have to maybe turn around and go, okay, well, maybe what I gave you might not have been right. Now, that's not always the case, but there's so many times, and I've seen PTs have the same conversation with their clients. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be that brutally honest with your client, at some point they're going to fucking listen to you. They are going to turn around and go, you know, all right, I'm going to track every goddamn thing down. And if they're still not losing weight, you have to go, okay, then there's a variable that wasn't right. And I think we're both, there's equal sides of the coin. I've had clients, I actually had a full-on argument with a client at one of the first gyms I worked at, because she turned into a child on me and had a full-on temper tantrum. And it was so funny because she was doing a lap pull down and it was just difficult. And she didn't want to do it. And I knew she had more on the tank. I was like, give me some more reps. You're making me look really bad. Look at all these people. And I just turned around and went, if any of you would like any PT sessions with me, you can go booking at the main desk. And I was like, and I literally said, who wants to lose 2 stone by Christmas? Because it isn't fucking me, it's you. And she instantly went, slot down. We then had another set of movements and I said, stop, you can't do anymore. And there was that light bulb moment, as you say, like when you're actually brutally honest with them, because that's what they're really paying you for. And they go, oh, so you will actually stop me if I can't do it? Yes. If I think you're not doing something right, I'm going to tell you, not because I want you to feel bad, because I want you to do it right so you get the results you want. But at the same time, I think as you get a bit older and wiser, and you know, it's hard when you're young and you're young in the business, because you're trying to build a business up. So you kind of got to almost be on the facade that you're right all the time. But at some point, I think there does have to be just a little bit of give sometimes. We're going, if you told this person that they can't be tracking their calories right for 3 times in a row and they're still coming back to you saying they are, maybe you need to just go, all right, let's bring the numbers down a little bit.
Yeah. I've always said to clients that with numbers that I give them, is sometimes going to be a bit of a trial and error kind of thing, just because sometimes they might overestimate how much like activity they do, or you know, sometimes people just lose weight easier than others. So I've always said to people, we'll try with these first, we'll give it a month. You need to make sure you're doing everything you can to make sure you're hitting those numbers to give it a fair shot. And if we're still not doing well, then we'll have a look and reassess, basically.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had another client of mine turn around and say, I know you're going to say I'm lying. So it's almost like they instantly expect it as well now. When I say they've tracked everything, they're going to expect you to turn and say, well, you're lying because you haven't. And I was like, that's actually not what I'm saying. Because if you've told me that you've completely tracked everything, but then it's no different, isn't it? As we were saying with these diets as well, when people believe in the diet so much but don't know the principle and they're not losing weight, and you're like, well, you're not doing the diet right. Because if you did the diet right, then you'd see the results, because I saw the results. And you're like, well, hang on a minute, you haven't really given explanation. That person's trying to impress you by doing the diet or following the program or doing the steps and everything like that. But it's like at some point, but it's funny because you could go either way. You could say that everybody's lying. Great. Because you're probably right. Everybody probably is lying. And then you could turn around and say, well, every calorie calculator you've ever used in the world ever is hideously inaccurate and it's a trial by error. And you'd be right. But at the same time, nobody's willing to just turn around and go, okay, one of us might be wrong. The other one might be wrong. Let's just have a little conversation and see how this goes and see where we can meet in the middle, because everybody feels like they have to be right. The client has to be right, because if they're not tracking everything, they're letting you down. And you have to be right as the PT, because if you're not right, then everything that you've done is bullshit, and what you're doing being a PT, and you're scared that client's going to bugger off and say bad shit about you. So it's such a horrible catch-22 that comes in the beginning. And the trouble is, most of the time, everyone we come up against, as you know, you in a business sense, Matt, it's no different, isn't it? Like, well, I've tried everything. Have you actually tried everything? Like, have you actually tried everything? Because if you'd actually tried everything, you probably wouldn't have needed to call me. It's the same thing saying, like, have you tracked all your calories? Yes. Well, have you? Because if you actually tracked everything, you probably wouldn't be having the problems you've had. But you've got to be able to accept that criticism as well as give it.
Yeah. Okay. Final words. Wrapping up.
Who's going to start?
All diets are calorie deficits wrapped in a funny package. You have to be in a deficit for them to work, but nobody cares how you do it. Have fun with it.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know,
more than one way to skin a cat.
More than one type of burger, but they all are burgers.
Oh, any more puns we can get out here? Come on, guys. Who's got another one?
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in to yet another podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you do subscribe, because they're going to be weekly, unless one of us has a busy schedule. If you are on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a rating. Doesn't matter what our rating is. Just if you give us a rating, give us feedback. If you've got any topics that you want us to talk about, give our professional expertise advice on, please leave a comment down below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys all next week.